Good evening and welcome to All Around Northwest Ohio. I'm Jim Bellamy and we're in Wauseon, Ohio for the Super Cruise. Could you introduce yourself to the audience, please, sir?
My name is Jeff Connolly. I live here in Wauseon. I'm a chairman of the cruise committee.
All right, Jeff, for the folks who've never been over to Wauseon to check this out, tell us a little bit about the Super Cruise. What's it all about?
Well, it's mostly we are lucky we have excellent sponsors. We get a lot of community support in and around the area. So on the third Tuesday of every month in June, July, and August, we have a Super Cruise, which we bring a lot of cars from the surrounding area. They come out. Everything's free for the participants. We're lucky. Like I said, we have good sponsors. They donate product. We donate gift cards, gift certificates, and we hand that out on a regular basis. We have 50-50 drawings, and it's all paid for by the community. I mean, by donations.
So it is a true community event. How long has this event been going on?
Way over 20 years. I would say I think it's 26, 27 years, somewhere around in there. We've been doing it. I've been coming to them since 2001 when I first moved out here, and then we took it over probably 8 years ago. The other committee had other things. They had been doing it for a long time themselves.
So I look around and I see, not only, of course, the classic vehicles and, all the traffic that goes along with that, people looking at each other's cars and things like that, but I also see food trucks and things like that. So it really has become a community event.
That's something I wanted to do. One thing we found when we first took it over was there was a lot of cars that would come, but we didn't get much participation from the people in town. And we really didn't want an event where people would just pull their cars in, set their 2 folding chairs out, and then just sit there. And then when it was 2 hours later, they'd fold their chairs up and go home. We wanted more of a participation. We wanted to bring the town out, and it seems to have done that. Everybody likes fair food, So we thought we couldn't miss with that, and it's been a success. That's helped a lot.
So where is the farthest a car has come from, an entrant has come from for one of these?
We've had cars come from Texas, but I'm sure they just happen to be in the area, But we've had cars come from Texas, from Florida. Unfortunately, this past week we had to reschedule because it was this event was originally scheduled for last Tuesday, but it was rained out. So with a reschedule, you kind of it never. We don't seem like we garner the cars that we would have if we'd have been able to have it last week. But on a good Super Cruise night, especially in August, we've had 800-900 cars, which means they were all the way to that park and all the way up past this light in every parking lot in every side street, So a lot of cars.
So with a turnout like that, 800, 900 cars, you say stretching many city blocks, obviously the city has to give a little bit in order to accommodate that. And it sounds like they've been very accommodating to help with that.
They've been great. We can't complain. And you got to, this is the first block to fill up. And this is probably, there's many businesses in here, but they are always understanding enough. They work with us. We go in and ask, when there's cars here, when we're trying to clear the street so we can start bringing our cars in. But they work with us. They notify people and say, hey, you got to move your car. And it's got to be a hardship on everybody. But luckily, they all support us. So we're glad, we'll do anything we can for the business people if we're inconveniencing anything we can do, but luckily they're always very accommodating to us, so it works out good for us.
And you'd have to think for an event that usually takes place in the early evenings, a lot of the businesses probably getting ready to close if they haven't already closed. So thankfully the traffic impact is very minimal for them.
Right, and we try to work with, we know some of the businesses have a UPS pickup that's right around 5 o'clock, and so we definitely will hold off the letting cars in until they've had a chance to do their UPS pickup, which he makes a big circle in here, then he takes off, then we know we're getting to the point where we can start letting cars in.
So the classic car community is very well connected. You see a lot of the same faces at some of the different shows. So just how important is it for you to get word out about this event, and how fast does word spread about an event like this?
Well, me and my wife, I actually have cars myself, and so when we take them to other events, we always will hand out our flyers, and talk to people, and we built some rapport with the people that put on the other cruises. We support you, you support us. And as long as somebody isn't trying to do something on a Tuesday night, we're going to work with them everything we can, to support them, and they do the same for us. So, and we do, we want people to know to come on out. It doesn't cost you anything. Come out. If you don't like it, let us know that too. What we can do to improve. And we look at the other cruise nights, because if somebody's doing something that really works, we want to do it too.
Well, I'm sure people are going to enjoy the night tonight, and I'm sure people enjoy Super Cruise when it happens here in Wauseon.
They do, and this happens to be our last cruise night of the season. Next year, if you're watching this, come on out. We're here every Tuesday, the third Tuesday of June, July, and August. Super Cruise, come out and spend some time with us. We'd be glad to have them.
All right, introduce yourself to the folks at home, please, sir.
I'm Bob Roop from Wauseon, Ohio.
And Bob, are you a lifelong resident of the area?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. How long have you been coming to the Super Cruise?
Well, we used to be in charge of it. And we did that for about 20 years. Now it's been about 5 years, I think, since we got out of it, and we still come up.
So, as somebody who helped kind of organize the event, what does this event mean to you personally?
Oh, just something we like. we really like, and we like the cars. And we meet a lot of people and have a lot of fun.
And we talked with Jeff a little bit ago about how the car community is a very tight community. I'm sure you've met a lot of people and made a lot of friends over the years.
Oh, yeah, right. We know people all over.
So what vehicle are we looking at right now behind us?
This is a 55 Chevy pickup truck and a 57 Cushman. Cushman's an Eagle. Cushman Eagle. So, yeah, we just enjoy running them, driving them, and showing them off.
Now, how long have you had this particular vehicle?
Oh, probably 10 years, I imagine. So we did the first one we did was a 57 Chevy for my boy. And he's had it since he was 15, and he's now 52. So he's still got the car.
And it still runs and everything.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, but then we started working on my stuff and been doing it ever since.
So you've had this vehicle for a little while. What kind of shape was it in when you got it?
Well, it was a basket case. In fact, it had an 8-foot bed on it. I changed the frame and everything on it. And we put a 454 engine in it. And it'll pass anything but a gas station.
So you and your family have done a lot of work. Have you done all the work on it?
Oh, yeah. I don't paint them. I do all the mechanic work and everything else, but I don't paint.
I don't blame you. That's not a whole lot of fun.
The Cushman, I painted all the black, but the green and the rest of that stuff, we had a body shop do it.
So when did you initially become interested in the inner workings of a car? What kind of spurred that passion for you?
Back since I was a kid. But we always had to fix them in order to drive them. Now I can take my time fixing them. Because I don't have to drive them. I got other cars to drive. So, yeah.
Now you mentioned having some other classic vehicles. What are some other classic vehicles that you have?
Well, I've got a 29 Chevy Street Rod. It's got a 283 engine in it. And then I've got a 55 Chevy two-door hardtop. And a 69 Chevy convertible. 64 Chevy convertible. Got to be one more there someplace. One of my boys, one's got a Pontiac GTO, the other one's a 57 Chevy.
All right, so I feel like I have to ask, with that kind of affinity for the classic cars, is there one that got away?
Oh, that I had, you mean?
Or one that you maybe always wanted that it just never quite worked out?
I've got a 55 two-door hardtop, and I always wanted a 55 convertible to go with it. And I've never done that. But I'm to the point now that I can't hardly work on them. My legs are bothering me, and so I still try it.
Oh, but nights like this though, just have to be just a blast.
Oh yeah, we when we were running this, we had one night we had 668 cars. We had them everywhere, down in the park and everywhere here.
A lot of people coming out maybe that wouldn't even normally be into classic cars, but just because it's such a great community event, they're coming out, and maybe they're kind of getting the bug a little bit too.
A lot of people here tonight. See, they postponed this from last week because of rain, so they don't have as many as they normally would. I don't know, August cruise is always the biggest one. So. Well, we enjoy it. So.
Well, Bob, we appreciate you spending a little time talking to us about the event and talking to us about this beautiful vehicle.
Oh, I've got a
08
tractor too.
6
I redid that.
8.
All right, here's something you don't see every day at a car show. Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and then what we have behind us.
Okay, name's Chris Sands from Rensselaer, Michigan, and it's just about 10 miles up the road here from Wauseon. And what we have behind us is my 2014 Rayburn by RSR dirt late model that we race just out at Oakshade Raceway.
All right, and how long have you been racing the car?
This is my second year in the late model division, but I've been racing for 10 years. I've spent 8 years in the street stock division out at Oakshade.
All right, so the experience you have in racing, how have you seen kind of that sport evolve over the years?
The sport's come a long way. I notice it's almost getting to be where it's got a lot more fan base than a lot of other events. The technology that we use in these cars today has gone from very minimal to extremes. I mean, they're talking machines for pull-down rigs to make the chassis work. They're talking shock dynos and chassis dynos and all kinds of things nowadays.
Now, at what point in your life did you start kind of getting interested in it and decided maybe this is something you wanted to pursue more?
Well, back in the early 90s, my dad used to race. My whole family used to race out at Oakshade. So I kind of grew up in a car seat out to Oakshade. So I kind of knew from then, like I've always, and when you're a kid and in school, everyone asks you what you want to be. I've always said I wanted to be a race car driver. So the last 10 years, that's what I've been doing.
Awesome. And I assume that you've made a lot of friends kind of through the years over there. Who are some other folks who maybe race now who folks might recognize, names they might recognize?
Actually, Rusty Schlenk is a local guy who's a pretty big name. He was racing World of Outlaws and is UMP national champion, and he's actually the guy who's been helping me a lot on this car.
So let's talk about under the hood a little bit. Take us kind of under the hood. What do we have under there?
What we have is an all-aluminum, 18-degree, 415 cubic inch small block Chevy engine. It's got a dry sump oil system in it, so there's no oil in the oil pan. It's got a direct drive transmission, quick change rear end, and that's pretty much it.
Now, vehicles that are built for speed aren't always necessarily built for comfort. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, well, a lot of people, you get some speed and you get comfortable in the car is when you actually get speed. So the more comfortable you are, the better off you're going to be in the car. So they're actually not too terrible in them.
That's good. That's good, because I'm thinking of the old school cars where they definitely were not as easy on the body.
These things, I mean, they're still rough, but we got enough safety equipment nowadays that keep us pretty safe in these cars. And they're not too terrible bad comfort-wise, so.
Fantastic. And then real quick, future goals in this car. What are you looking to achieve?
Well, we're real close to achieving our goal for this year, which was top 10 points out to Oakshade. And then next year, we're actually, I think one of our goals is going to be to get out and travel a little bit more and hit a couple more racetracks and maybe contend maybe a top 10 in the national series.
Given the unique nature of this car at a kind of a classic car show, I'm sure you get a lot of people come up and ask you questions about the vehicle. So what kind of questions do you usually get from the folks who check it out?
Well, every car show, everyone wants to know what size of the engine, and then people, real car guys are looking around like, hey, there's no oil pan on this car. So, then you explain that there's no oil pan, that, it's got a dry sump system which basically vacuums the oil out of the engine. And then everyone's used to like a 4-bar rear suspension. This car's a little different. So, I mean, there's a lot of questions you get it. And, everyone wants to know why the car's not so pretty. Well, we use the car quite a bit. So it's hard to keep them clean.
Well, it's definitely not a conventional car, but that's kind of the point, right?
That's kind of the uniqueness of it, of having it out here. I think gives everyone something a little different to look at besides the 68 Chevy Camaro or something like that. It gives something a little different to look at.
I'm pleased to be joined by Rob Leamon. And Rob, we have a very unique car behind us here.
Well, it certainly is. It's unique to us as well. It's something that we got into, I'm going to say 3 years ago, right after retirement, and decided that we always wanted to get a street rod. So that's what we ended up with. Took us about 2 years to find it. So started looking, again, 2 years before retirement, and found it down in North Carolina and have been driving the wheels off it ever since.
So what's the make and model?
It's a 32 Ford Roadster, referred to typically as a highboy because they haven't done any sectioning of the body and lowering it. Open air car, no side windows, no heater, no air. And I've always heard horror stories about open air cars and how they'll just beat you to death, but honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. You sense all the things around you. In the fall, you get the beautiful smell of burning wood and people with fires outside. And in the summertime, it's really not bad. It's not all that hot because you have tremendous circulation.
So you said a couple years before retirement, you kind of started looking around. What is it about this particular vehicle or this style of car that appealed to you?
Well, aesthetically, it's always something I wanted. Even as a kid, I always thought these were really cool. Now, we started looking initially at what they call a three-window, a hardtop coupe. And frankly, when I got in that side of that, it was almost claustrophobic. And so that was the next move, was to go to an open-air car where you didn't have side windows and a back window. And so that's what prompted us to go into this. But essentially, it's a three-window with a soft top is kind of what it ends up being.
Now, did you have to do any renovations to it once you got it?
No, because all the equipment's so darn specialized to put something together, and you really have to have a lot of talent, more talent than I have mechanically, to make that happen. So we bought it complete with the idea that we'd drive it, and that's exactly what we've been doing. But the big deal was to find the car that fits you, because these glass bodies that they replicate the 32 in will vary dramatically from maker to maker. So this has adequate legroom for me at 6 foot. I need a little extra legroom. And although it has a very, very low-profile windshield, it fits me perfectly. When I sit in the car, my eyes are right where they need to be on the windshield.
So when you sit in this car and start it up, emotionally, where does it take you?
Oh, it takes you back to the early 60s when you were a kid riding your bike around and you'd see cars like that. And you'd say, boy, someday I'd like to have one of those. And so someday finally came.
That's fantastic. Now, was there a car kind of, as you were growing up, that you always looked at and you thought, man, if I could just get my hands on one of those? What was the one that maybe got away?
You know, I don't think anything really got away so much as this one really became the thing that really fit the bill. And it came at a time in life when you can afford to do it, and why not?
So it's kind of like the dream car, and the dream came true.
It certainly is.
This will probably be one of the more unique interviews that I do. Hutch, tell us a little bit about this vehicle you have tonight.
This vehicle is a 1928 Model A Ford, and I previously owned a 1931 Victoria Coupe Model A Ford when I was in high school, but I always wanted one of these. I stumbled into this about last November, and it's exactly the way I wanted to redo one. I didn't do all this. I bought it this way, and I drive it because I bought it to drive.
I was going to ask you, it sounded like you didn't have to really put any work into it.
No, I didn't have to do much to it. I did mostly engine tune-up and the brakes and just small things.
So what is it about the Ford that appeals to you so much?
Well, the fact that I had one years ago, back in 1954, and I don't know, it was just a thing for us kids back then, and I guess I'm still a kid.
You said this is, what, your second or third car show?
Second one, a long span of time between my first one and the second one, but I always wanted one like this one.
So did you get out and see some of the other vehicles tonight?
Oh, yeah, I'm tired. I'm just running from one end to the other. There's a wide variety here. It's amazing.
What are some of your favorites that you saw tonight?
Oh, the older cars. The older cars. I guess that makes me an antique, too, then.
It just means you love good vehicles.
Yeah. I what?
It means you love good vehicles.
Oh, yeah, I like the old ones. Oh, if I had my fingers on that Cadillac, I wouldn't complain any. You know?
What's the most common question you get asked when someone comes and takes a look at your truck?
Well, first thing off, I'm amazed at the amount of compliments that I get for somebody else's work and their time that they put in it, and I'm getting the compliments for it, which is okay. You know? Makes me feel good. How fast does it go? Is it right? Does it steer easy? No, it doesn't. They're rough riding, they vibrate, and they steer hard.
What does it top out at speed-wise?
It runs smooth at between 35 and probably 38. And I had the GPS in here, and I had a flat out at 52. And that was working it hard.
Well, Hutch, we appreciate you sharing a little time with us and showing us this beautiful vehicle.
I enjoy it. Thanks for stopping.